Hey Internet, why is Apple tech insanely popular all over the world? The answer seems obvious, right? It's all about that unbeatable quality, smooth and gorgeous operating system, plus the brand image. And that's totally true. iPhone, MacBook, iPad, Apple Watch, and AirPods. Millions of people consciously choose these for three main reasons: style, reliability, and status. But Apple's consistently high sales aren't just built on these three pillars. Today I'm going to tell you about the hidden tricks this company uses to make you genuinely want to buy their gear with that little Apple logo. And once you accidentally fall for their bait, you'll be convinced you made a totally conscious, independent choice and never escape their cleverly set trap. It all starts with the iPhone 16. Actually, no, that's not right. It really starts with the fact that most Apple device owners never actually made a conscious choice to buy what they bought. Welcome to the History of Gadgets channel. If you're enjoying this breakdown of Apple's psychology, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. We dive deep into tech industry secrets you won't hear anywhere else. The company's entire sales chain is a sneaky web, and Tim Cook is the tarantula who wants your sweet asses to feed on. To feast on them, Timmy has tactically placed shiny Apple Store traps around the planet, where he's carefully positioned bait designed by the best designers, with price tags where every single digit has been studied by the world's top marketers. All you need to do is walk into the store where you see the iPhone 16, the company's most popular computer is the iPhone, and you'll probably go to check it out first. You walk up to the smartphone display and anger washes over you. What the hell is this crappy iPhone 16e so expensive for? Seriously, these idiots want me to spend $600 on this junk? One camera, only 128 gigabytes storage, and that notch. The 256GB version costs $700. Are they kidding me? That's ridiculous. What are they even thinking? Might as well throw in another $100 and get the base iPhone 16. Thousands of customers have been in this store before you, and they definitely weren't idiots. But all of them, using the exact same thought processes, made the iPhone 16 Pro the company's best-selling smartphone, because even if you want to buy the iPhone 16, you can't actually do it, because you're a smart person, but the whole system is built so that you, using facts, logic, and rational arguments, crawl right into Tim Cook's claws yourself. The thing is, Apple's pricing is set up so that by adding just $50 or $100, you either double your storage or can afford a phone that's a tier higher. The iPhone 16e with 128 gigabytes cost you $599. Add just $100 and you can get 256 gigabytes. But why would you? It's still a crappy phone. Better to throw in another $100 and get the regular iPhone 16 with two cameras. Sure, it's only 60 Hz, but it's better in every other way. But then you're back to just 128 gigabytes of storage. Are we going in circles here? Wait, hold up. Add another $100 and you can get 256 gigabytes. So the iPhone 16 with 256 gigabytes would cost me $900 total. Damn, that's too expensive. Wait a minute though. Add $200 more and I can get the Pro with 256 gigabytes. Perfect choice. And that's exactly the moment when you fooled yourself without making a single mistake. Originally, you didn't want to buy anything, but now you're convinced the Pro with 256 gigabytes is the best choice. Apple, using nothing but smart pricing, just sold you something you didn't give a damn about a minute ago. Same thing with iPads. Apple's cheapest tablet costs $350, and the keyboard for it is another $250. There's nothing in that keyboard to justify that price. For $250, you could buy an Android phone or a whole computer. You, being a reasonable person, realize that the cheapest iPad plus keyboard already comes out to $500. And if that's the case, maybe it's better to just get a higher tier iPad, right? So with any Apple device, you easily part with your money because the prices are already designed so that when you look at the numbers, you're not thinking your own thoughts, you're following an algorithm programmed by the marketing department. Usually your first Apple device is an iPhone. The company does everything to make sure that once you're using it, you'll buy something else made by the Apple company. After the iPhone, you'll definitely buy either headphones or a MacBook, and the company sells them through limitations. By buying an iPhone, you've already taken the first step. You've taken your first drag, had your first shot, got your first injection. Apple sees you're already in the ecosystem, but you only have one product. You need to buy more. You need to buy them all. To do this, Apple creates a problem that sells you the solution. They removed the headphone jack and started selling wireless headphones. Want to use your old ones? Pay $10 for an adapter or buy AirPods. While using your iPhone, it keeps bombarding you with notifications that you're about to run out of storage and won't be able to download anything. Buy a cloud subscription so your files and backups can be stored there. You could, of course, transfer all your photos to a computer, but then you'll get a million folders with 2 files in each, the original and a compressed version. This is done on purpose, so you'll buy something else from Apple, like a Mac. There's no such problem there. Can't buy a Mac? Well, at least get an iCloud subscription. The subscription price was also set by top marketers, and getting 2 terabytes right away is more cost effective, even though you didn't need it at all before buying the iPhone. Now you're bringing Tim and his investors steady monthly profits. For Apple, this is literally free money. Hey, look, we also have Apple Music. Want a free trial? Here's Apple TV too, or take everything at once. It's much more cost effective. Every Apple limitation increases their sales. Older iPhones don't have always-on displays. If you want one, buy iPhone 14 Pro or newer. Even though they started using OLED displays with the iPhone X in 2017 and could have added AOD earlier, they deliberately held it back for newer models. FaceTime is only available on iPhone. Apple Pay is only available on iPhone. AirDrop is only available on iPhone. iPhone is pure addiction. Try buying just AirPods. Apple's headphones can connect to your Android, but soon you'll notice huge input lag, frequent disconnections, and gestures won't work. You can buy a MacBook, but without an iPhone, you won't get many other cool features, which the system will immediately tell you about. You'll deal with this crap every day until they wear you down and you buy that iPhone. You could even be rich enough to buy yourself a Vision Pro, a real computer on your head. It's completely autonomous, but even this $4,000 device will tell you, buy a MacBook, let's display its screen here. Or let's buy an iPhone. It'll be 100 times more convenient. Usually all Apple users follow the same path. First, you buy an iPhone, then you get headphones, then a laptop, and finally a watch. All of this will work together, create convenience for you, amaze you, and do nice things. But why do most people act exactly this way? Are we really just a herd? Do we really follow a script? Of course not. This is all Apple's clever marketing. They'll do everything to keep you on their tech only, so you get hooked and become their most loyal follower. Not all addicts deteriorate to the point where they sell furniture from their homes. Not all gambling addicts owe millions to banks. And not all Apple fans are so obsessed with the Apple ecosystem that they'd buy an Apple Watch Ultra. But casinos, cults, tobacco and alcohol companies, and even Apple all use the same addiction-forming methods. And there are always radicals among the addicted who will go all the way. Those who get the biggest high from Apple's ecosystem will bring new followers into it. That's how the iPhone cult works. By buying an iPhone, you fall into the ecosystem trap. AirPods work better with iPhone, Apple Watch requires iPhone, and Mac syncs only with it. If you have a couple $1,000 worth of Apple gear, no way you're switching to Android. It's hard to break free from that. It's easier to just upgrade one device at a time. But the scariest part is that the ecosystem owners no longer see alternatives, and objectively there aren't any. Even Samsung tried to copy this, but the only thing they achieved was making their watches not work properly with iPhone, even though the capability exists. Their ecosystem isn't closed, so this approach simply doesn't work. Actually, upgrades are something Apple started getting rid of a long time ago. While it's impossible in watches, smartphones, or headphones, the company spent a very long time digging this damn technical progress out of laptops. Before you could buy a base model Pro, add an SSD or RAM. Replacing a swollen battery wasn't hard either. But starting in 2016, they began welding batteries to the chassis to prevent self-repair. Later, they started soldering RAM and SSD to the motherboard so you couldn't even upgrade yourself. Now with Apple's transition to chips, the company literally put everything into one chip, making upgrades fundamentally impossible. Want more memory? Go buy the maxed out version right away. Remember the 8GB RAM scandal in 2024? Base MacBook Air and even Pros are still sold with 8GB RAM. Even Chrome eats up 4 to 6 gigs. Apple knows 8GB isn't enough, but an extra $200 for 16GB is easy money for them. With Apple Watch, the company does truly terrible things. First, Apple can't update them every year in a noticeable way, so they just lie. For example, the temperature sensor in Series 8 and Ultra could work on Series 7, 7, but Apple blocked it with software. Double tap only appeared in Series 9 and Ultra 2, even though this could be implemented in software everywhere, even on very old models. The manipulation is that they artificially separate features to somehow justify buying a new version. Second, most models are practically disposable. Battery replacement for Apple Watch SE cost $80. That's almost half the price of new watches. It's not worth repairing them, easier to buy new ones. Since 2023, the company implemented service mode. If the watch was disassembled outside an authorized service center, it gets locked and requires confirmation from Apple. Even if you installed an original part but not at an Apple service center, the watch might stop working. Apple completely controls repairs. They have a monopoly on service. The lion's share of Apple's advertising isn't aimed at attracting new customers, but at keeping those who already fell into the trap, making them feel special and cool. Take social media for example. You're a beginner tech blogger, trying different things, making videos about computers, phones, robots, but only Apple content takes off. Partly because everyone knows Apple. They have a bigger fan base and more hype around them, and partly because it's profitable for social networks to promote Apple tech content. Instagram has agreements with Apple, and iPhone stories have better quality than from other devices. Tim Chef Cook and Mark Zuckerberg signed cooperation agreements long ago. Both make huge profits from each other, and it's profitable for Apple when iPhone posts get more reach. It's also profitable for Zuckerberg to drive Apple users to the platform so they buy and watch expensive ads. Just like TikTok videos praising China get more views, Instagram posts about Apple get more reach. Apple also sponsors app development for their closed operating system. Thanks to this, iOS apps are well adapted and there are exclusives. And thanks to the 100% chance to make money, this motivates earning. Did you know that villains in movies don't have iPhones? Apple has agreements with Hollywood that no villain in movies or TV shows can use Apple tech. Once you know this, it's impossible to watch detective shows or thrillers. The girl with an iPhone will always survive in the end, and the killer will turn out to be the gardener with a Samsung. You'd think, how could such advertising work? There's no link in the description to buy an iPhone. No call to action in the movies themselves. But actually, advertising in movies and TV shows is one of the most effective forms of advertising. It creates a subconscious image of iPhone owners as the most influential people with status and exclusive position. After quitting smoking again, you'll see how Tarantino deliciously films smoking scenes. And there you are again at the store buying Marlboro. After quitting betting, you'll see in the news how someone who isn't you won $1 million on a national volleyball match, and you'll deposit again. After seeing a president with an iPhone in a movie, you'll want to upgrade your iPhone 12. Moreover, with the launch of Apple TV Plus, the company kills two birds with one stone, makes content they profit from, and weaves in the product placement they need. Plus, they seriously save on advertising. If you have an iPhone, you'll understand technology, and you'll also be a president. And you'll be a supermodel too, of course. It's stupid, obviously stupid, but that's exactly how our subconscious works through emotions. And Apple loves and knows how to work with emotions. They don't advertise functionality, they don't advertise specs like megapixels or gigabytes. They show either how cool the user is or how successful and happy they are. And here's my favorite Apple manipulation: limited supply. I generally love this strategy from any brand and still fall for it myself. Hurry up! Only here, only now, exclusively for you! But while Chinese phones sell using this method with crazy time-limited discounts, Apple has gone much further. The company uses limited supply and also launches smartphones in waves to create hype around their new products. A new iPhone came out, you can't get it anywhere. Well, maybe there are a couple lying around somewhere. What color green do you like? That one's in highest demand right now. Pre-order only. This heats up interest and the desire to buy it right now, and also strengthens the social pressure effect when everyone around is buying the new model. Everyone has money to get the new Pro Max. What? Are you broke? Chinese factories churn out these iPhones by the kiloton every second, but you get the feeling that Apple isn't just tech, it's something more valuable and unique. I was first here. What's left? Maybe just one. Of course, this is all manipulation to boost sales. The company intentionally limits supplies of new Pros initially to heat up demand. Same manipulation as their updates designed to slow down devices. You can't use your old iPhone not because it broke down, but because Timmy slowed it down on command. And the cherry on top is the fight for environmental friendliness. I just love Apple for this. Of course, huge corporations care about the environment. If they needed to kill 100 babies a day for stock growth, I swear they'd make it trendy and brand-loving mothers as a monstrous disgrace. Wait, they already do this. They did exactly the same thing with iMessage. In the US, there were school kids with blue bubbles in messages, or green ones, I don't remember. This means you have Android. It went so far that it led to suicides. Instead of removing this crap, Apple left it. So their main idea is to segregate people by elitism. All this time, they developed iMessage not to sell ads in it, and not out of kindness, but to humiliate Android users. All sorts of chargers, adapters, little cases cause irreparable harm to water, air, and soil. Apple doesn't make them biodegradable, doesn't make their production eco-friendly, doesn't build networks for collection and recycling worldwide. Apple sells them at inflated prices and refuses to include them with new iPhones. And this only leads to increased sales of these accessories. Some fans think that it's more expensive than made by Apple, it's more reliable and higher quality. They buy regardless of any price tags, while the company makes more money by spending less. You'd think this is the dirtiest possible manipulation. Think again, Apple actively opposes the right to repair, making their devices as difficult as possible for independent upgrades or fixes. On one hand, they justify this by saying it makes stolen smartphones harder to part out. On the other hand, thefts don't decrease because of this, and the company does nothing about those who professionally deal in stolen goods. But regular users are significantly bothered by chips tied to specific devices. If you've replaced an iPhone screen, you might have encountered problems during replacement. Transplanted displays throw errors. Face ID doesn't work because the part is supposedly not original. All this forces you to go to authorized service centers, which in many areas either don't exist or are much more expensive. So it's easier not to replace the failed part, but just buy a new gadget. How eco-friendly is that? Good God. Well, friends, that's all for now. What do you think? Write in the comments. Subscribe to the channel, hit those likes. See ya!